Hello everyone, and welcome to part 3 and the final part of these Weakaura guides. Today we're finally tackling our very first advanced Weakauras and using custom code featuring this lovely Weakaura that checks if everyone in your guild imported your Weakauras, as well as this beautiful Weakaura that just reminds you which phase of the boss you just entered. But before we start, remember to give a like and subscribe, it's totally free and it really helps me a lot, as well as share these videos with everyone in your guilds if you find them useful. Just a quick disclaimer, this video will use custom code and normally that requires you to know programming language, but I'll take it slow even for people who don't know how to code. Feel free to comment down below or DM me on Discord with any questions you might have, and stay tuned for our new Weakaura challenge series, but more on that later. But now let's get into the video. Alright, and here we are on our very first advanced Weakaura. I hope you guys are excited because this one is going to be very cool. However, I do need to mention that it's very likely that you won't understand some things here, and if that's the case, feel free to DM me on Discord or just put comments down below and I'll make sure to answer every single one of them. And on top of that, I'm also going to be doing a new series of videos after this one called Weakaura challenges, where I just take cool ideas that people present to me that I will see for Weakauras and then I make them. So we're gonna start with custom code, and that's gonna be quite interesting because in order to start with custom code you do need to know a programming language, but Lua is the simplest programming language because it's really close to English. So let's start with this first Weakaura, and remember when I said Weakauras are really powerful and they can do pretty much anything that you think of? Let's say that you just made a whole package of Weakauras to your guild, because you're now a pro Weakaura maker and you make a bunch of Weakauras, so your guild goes into the next raid and everyone's happy, but there's always that one or two people who don't import your Weakauras and then end up sabotaging the raid. So let's say that you want to make sure that everyone in this raid has the Weakauras that you just made. So we're going to make a Weakaura check to check whether they have the Weakauras. And the way we're going to do this is quite interesting. Because these can't be done with normal Weakauras, we're going to have to go into programming. And we're going to just make a text. And the text, well, let's just call it Weakaura Check. Now the text could be anything in the trigger or on the display actually. I could put something like, good job, you imported all the Weakauras. You could make a group of Weakauras and tell them to like import this, and then you're gonna trigger this for them and it's just gonna print this out and they're gonna do a little action. But yeah, you could do something funny like this, or just type haha, haha, you got trolled, for example, something like that. So let's just say good job. Or something that I do in this very specific scenario is I take this off screen, put some ridiculous number here, and boom, it's out of the screen. It's not gonna appear anything for them. It's just gonna be off screen. So for this case, let's actually put it in screen, so because we want to see if this appears or not. But yeah, the trigger is gonna be a custom trigger because there's no trigger here. The way I'm gonna trigger this is I am gonna write a message in chat and this is gonna trigger for them. And then action that they're gonna do is potentially just say in the chat something like this. In a raid chat maybe, something like, I got your Weakauras. Something like that, right? And then what you're gonna do here, it needs to be custom. So when you get into custom triggers, you're gonna get all these boxes and stuff. Don't get scared just yet, but so here's the thing. You get into event types and you're gonna make an event, and again, go back to the previous videos and remember what I said, that every time a Weakaura happens, there needs to be an event that triggers it. And that's why I was using those words, because when we get here, we need to understand exactly what an event is. An event is just an action that happened, an actual event that triggers the Weakaura. And in this case, the event is going to be when I type a message. Now I can type a message as the raid leader or the raid leader in a raid group, yeah, or I can type it as a normal raider. Let's say I'm a normal raider. What you're gonna type here is the event of that message, which is a chat message raid. And for this, I really advise getting into the APIs. There's a bunch of APIs here on Wowpedia and such, and all you need to go is on Google, type something like Wow API, and then raid chat message, for example, and then you get this. And this is the event that happens when I put a message there. So chat, all in caps, chat message raid. So another way to figure this out, let me just put this on never for a second, is get the Etrace up. Etrace is a very powerful tool, and I made two macros here. This one is legit Etrace. I can show you actually. This one is Etrace start, and this is Etrace stop. This is just to trace all the events that happen. As you can see, it was up for a second. There's like multiple events here. And this is how we're gonna do the whole thing with custom Weakauras. So you're gonna be using this quite a lot. But let's put it on, and I'm gonna write a message in chat saying something like this, for example, right? And that's a message. And you can see the event is message raid leader. Now let's say I don't want, like, I'm not a raid leader. Let me just give raid leader here to this other character, if I can. Hello. Alright, so I actually had to log this other character to give him raid leader, but let's say I type the same message. Let me just start this, and I write the message, and now there's a bunch of events, but don't stress, let's just ignore all of these and go to chat message raid. Now we get the event that we did. And notice how in this event we get time, arg1, arg2. What is all of this? This is basically when you make an event in WoW, that event has some information stored into it. And those informations come as arguments inside. Think of this like you got a drawer, right? And inside that drawer, when you open it, there's multiple files. And inside those files, or those folders, sorry, there's files, okay? So we want to access, ultimately, these informations here. And these informations are stored in these arguments, which are stored in an event. So this is our way to get to this information. So let's put this into practice so you can actually see what I mean. So when I make the chat message raid, I'm gonna create a function. And again, this is just done on the custom trigger, okay? Not the name, info, icon, all that stuff. We're not gonna get too much into that, but we're gonna do the custom trigger here for a second. And we're gonna make a function. Now, whenever we open a function, we need to put these curly brackets. And these curly brackets can either be empty or they can be with something inside. And the something inside is basically what we want to import from, again, chat message raid. And we want to import all of these. So let's actually type all of these, time, arg1, arg2, and such. And never, guys, never forget the damn commas, because these can actually screw your code. But the point is, now we got all of these. We can, by the way, this is just names that we're giving to associate with these. I could change these into anything, because look, arg1 is the message. So I could do something like this, message, right? So I could do whatever I want with this regarding names. I just need to make sure that arg1 and message are the same. So let's put back to arg1. For beginner practice, I think keeping it like this might be best to understand, but in the future you probably won't be doing this. But yeah, the point is, now we're gonna look into all of this. So the first thing we want to make sure is if I'm the person who sent this message, and my name is Wyven -ptr minus ptr, whatever. And now we're going to do an if statement. An if statement just to check a condition, just like we will do on conditions. And this is very simple. If, and now this is arg2, right? Because it's my name, arg2. Now we're checking if the arg2, which is this, is, and by the way, when we make something, because you might not know if you use 2 equals or just 1, in this type of coding in Lua is very simple. If you want to say that A equals B, you only put 1 equal, okay? But if you want to compare A to B, then you put 2 equals, because 2 equals is to compare, 1 equal is to assign. So if arg2 equals, and now because this is a string, and the string is just like a variable, or yeah, it's just like a variable. It's an information that is written with text, not actually a number. We need to make it in quotes like that, and then Wyven /ptr. So if arg2 matches this, then we are gonna return true, and we're gonna end our code until this message is here, finish, and see how there's a message, and now it's gone. Now this is basically checking if I send a message, the Weakaura is gonna turn true, and let's make the duration of this actually 1 second, so we can test here. If I send a message, it's gonna say good job, and then disappears after 1 second, and it says I got your Weakauras. Now the problem is, I'm not checking which message I am doing. I am checking whether I'm the person sending the message or not. Should I go, for example, over here in this character, you'll see that if I were to type, it doesn't trigger, because not only am I the raid leader, but I also don't have the name. So let's actually get in here and fix that. So now, after we check that I sent a message, we're gonna check what the message was. I could actually make it the other way around. First I check the message, then I check the person, because that's just gonna be better optimized. But for the sake of just doing things now, and our frame of thought, I'm gonna keep it this way. So if arg1, which is the message, equals something, or actually I'm gonna do like Weakaura Check in caps and exclamation mark, then we're gonna do the return true, and because we added another if, we need to add another and. Now if Wyven ptr sends Weakaura Check and the person has the Weakaura, then it's gonna say I have your Weakauras, and it's going to return true. So, should I send something like a random message? Nothing triggers, but if I say Weakaura Check, exclamation mark, I got your Weakauras, and the thing appears here. I don't know if that was fast enough. Good job, appears here. So this is basically working. This is how you make it. Might want to make it. Now, again, if I were to want to hide this on a bunch of Weakauras, I could just put this off screen, something like minus 5,000 or something, or 50,000. It's off screen now, and the trigger is gonna basically stay the same, the duration same, doesn't need any more duration than that. And yeah, I mean, now that there's a problem here, so let's talk about optimizations for this Weakaura. This is not necessarily a problem, but the person might not want to have this Weakaura or whatever, and they might just look into actions and see this and turn this off, and then they still have the Weakaura. So let's make the person say this with code without having it on actions. And for that, we are gonna do something called a send message API, which is just a script that sends a message. Now, having this, and I'm just gonna copy here. Oops, sorry. I'm gonna copy this into the code, and now into the code we're gonna do this. So this is a script, and this is what you will type on the chat. We don't really need that, just need the send message, and then the message is gonna be I got your Weakauras, exclamation point. The chat type is gonna be raid, and the language is gonna be common. Now the channel, it's not really needed. This is for world channels, so we can actually delete that. But now, in theory, this should work. Should I type Weakaura Check? You see, I say I got your Weakauras. So we've optimized that much, and I mean, this is how you do this check. There's other optimizations, but not to get too complex here with this. This is the very first Weakaura for this video, and I hope you understand. Again, if you didn't understand some things, feel free to put on the comments, and I'll make sure I read the comments very closely. And I'll also do like follow-up videos with other Weakauras with custom code, so you get more used to seeing custom code happen. Alright, so last time I actually promised that I would make a Weakaura in a boss setting, and let's actually get into that, because I know some of you have been waiting for this one, and I've even gotten messages of, okay, this is really cool, but how can we do stuff inside boss fights, not just for us. But yeah, here's a thing. This boss is really cool. It's a 4-phase boss on heroic, and it does different abilities depending on where you position him to phase him. So on certain percent of HP, he picks a weapon and then he does different abilities. Let's say you actually want to check a Weakaura that tells you which phase you're in. Normally, our guild, the way we did it is just we put markers and we know which one was, but let's say that you want an extra reminding of what phase you're in. So the way we do that is, obviously we take the boss here. Let's bring him here and let him pick up this weapon. And you can see the way we know that we're going to flame phase here is that he says these messages. You also get the DBM warning, but let's say you don't have DBM or bigwigs. But yeah, he says these messages, and this is really cool because it can be really powerful. So if we go to Wowpedia or Wowpedia or whatever you're using and find the accursed, and you scroll down all the way to quotes, you can see that he has these multiple quotes that he says when he does certain things. So this can be very, very powerful and allow you to do very, very cool stuff. So let's say that he picks his fist weapon. He says, "Oh, great spirit, can't meet the power of the earth." So let's actually, that being said and that being known now, let's actually start a Weakaura here, and let's make this Weakaura a text. But before we actually do that, let's say you make a mistake and you do a texture called Fang face check, and now you did some code and you realize, oh my god, this is actually like a texture, and now I need to redo all the code. You can actually just right click and convert to text, and now it's fixed. And everything that you've done stays the same, so yeah, don't worry about that too much. Let's not think about displays now for a second. Let's go into triggers. And in triggers on custom, you want to make a custom event, and we know that it's going to be a chat something. Let's check what this chat something is. So let's get our Etrace back in, and don't get scared here for a second because this is going to be like a lot of stuff. But yeah, let's just pull the boss. Let's get him to say this weapon now. And when he says this, I stopped my Etrace. And there's like a bunch of stuff. Having these macros really helps out. You're gonna be using combat log like event unfiltered a lot of the times for Weakauras, but this time we're gonna use this message chat monster yell. So let's actually use that. Event is message chat message monster yell. And we're gonna do function and import all of these arguments. But instead of importing all of them, and the way we did before, I'm actually going to do time, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. This is just so you see that you don't have to put arg every time. But you can import only the things that you need. I only need up to 5. I don't need this rest, so I only put up to 5. I don't need to import all of them. So we're going to check if this monster yell was actually the boss or not. So the first time we're going to do if A2 equals Fang the Accursed. Now I know what you're saying. There's Fang the Accursed in A2 or Arg2, and there's also Fang the Accursed in argument 5. So which one is it? And honestly, I don't know. So I'm gonna do if Arg2 or if Arg5 equals Fang the Accursed. So it's if the boss is one of them or if the boss is both of them, this is just gonna be true. If the boss is neither of them, then obviously this Weakaura won't trigger. So let's say then we're gonna check another thing. We're gonna check the message, and if arg1 equals and then this entire message. Now I don't want to type this entire message. This is kind of boring to have. Like, let's say the message is actually really big. Imagine having to type those messages a lot. So there's this lovely function called string.find, which I have here. And this is just like a function inside Lua that allows you to do to find parts of a message. So if I were to use this, and again, I know that this is very confusing looking at this, so I'm actually going to give you a very simple example so you see how powerful this is. But if you read that, you probably will understand it and put time into trying understanding that. But let's say if, now I want to check if string.find, now I want to check two things. I want to check if, let's say, O stage of the ages is in this entire message, wherever it is. I want to just see if it's in this message. And in order to identify this message, where is it? It's argument 1, right? A1. And now what do I want to find? I need to type in quotes, O sage of the ages. Don't forget, by the way, to write exactly how it is and with the capital letters and such, otherwise it's just gonna break. But if we're gonna have this message or find this part of the message in the message the boss says, then this is gonna return true. And. Now, if I were to display here something like, or actually I'm gonna just say that this is it works, for example. And another thing for you to know whether it works, I'm just gonna make this a little bit bigger, like 25 should be enough. Another 5, I want to see this for 5 seconds. You could actually put a custom duration and then an untrigger, but that's kind of more complex even, and I don't know if I have time in this video to do all of that, but you could make the trigger of this message is actually the next message or whatever. And let's make it time for 5 seconds for now. But let's say you actually want to see if this works. You could do a print function, print it works, and then it's just gonna print it works on the chat. Now let's say this print is very important, because let's say that you think this line is correct, but you're having a problem with this line and this is not working. So you could do something like this, print part 1 is working, and then here you put print part 2 is working. Now, if you see both these prints, then the Weakaura is working, or at least up to this part. But if you only see this print, then this if statement is not working. So let's keep it as that and pull the boss. He actually doesn't have that. This is a bug. Oh, actually, it appeared nice. So it works, and you see part 1 is working, part and such. Okay, everything works beautiful. This disappears after 5 seconds. I want to say something here. Look, he said a message, and it said part 1 is working, because part 2 he couldn't find the Osage of the ages. So it didn't work, so it didn't trigger the Weakaura. And this is a perfect example how these prints can be really broken and help you out with your coding. Now, let's actually delete these prints because we no longer need them. And we know it's working. And now we need to print, but to print the weapon. So this is the phase that it does arcane velocity, which is like staff phase. I can do 4 Weakauras and put them in a group, and then this Weakaura is just gonna proc, and next time it won't proc, and then it's just gonna be each Weakaura it procs for each phase. But come on, we're better than that, right? So let's make it more fun and actually all of it in just one Weakaura. Because why have 4 Weakauras when you can just have one? So the way we're gonna do this is because we can't really tell that this is, I mean, we could tell with a global variable by doing like, we could do something like this. We could say that that the end result equals stuff, right? And then we can just display that. But global variables are kind of dangerous because they can break code very frequently. So people normally do local variables, and this is a lot better. So you're going to make variables, probably use local variables most of the time, unless you need them globally. But for this case, and keep in mind, if I were to do something like this, it would work, but I want to show you a really cool function here on actions. You see on init, and this is just like a variable that can be a table, a string, float, integer, whatever you want to make here. You can store there, and the Weakaura doesn't need to be triggered for you to store it. This is why it's so broken. So I'm actually going to make this variable. I'm going to declare it, and then we can close this. We no longer need it. Or env.faceCheck, something like this, right? FaceCheck. Actually, want to keep the p as minor. I mean, you don't have to, but I like doing it that way. And we're just gonna say it's empty for now. There's nothing in it, right? And now I've done this variable here that's gonna store information. So if this is what's happening, if the boss is saying this thing, then aura env.faceCheck equals stuff phase, right? And then we return true, and then, but now let's say it's not the phase of the stuff. Let's say it's the spear, O exalted 1. So I have O the exalted 1 here somewhere, O exalted 1, and sometimes you do have to come inside the fight and see what he says, because look at here, it says that O exalted 1 is on capitals. This is definitely not how he says it, so you can see here how he says it. So we're gonna do another, gonna press end here, and by the way, it's a good practice to put ends when you do ifs, okay? Because we're still inside this if statement, but outside of this one, we're gonna do another if statement here. If string.find, and now again a1, and then it's O exalted 1, something like that. If you can find this, then aura env.faceCheck equals spear phase, and return true, because we want the Weakaura to send true, and we can end, right? Now we have an error here somewhere, and oh, okay, so this actually tells me a mistake I did. I even said it today. I actually am comparing here, and I should just have one equal here. So that's that, and the same is happening here, okay? Because when we assign stuff, it needs to be just one equal, not two equals. Now we could do this for all the phases, but let's just test for these two for now. And then right here on display, I'm actually going to make a custom display. And we're going to do function. We don't need to import anything. And return, what we're going to return is basically whatever we typed on our env. what was it called? Phase check right there, right? And then we're gonna end. And now this is gonna print whatever in there. So let's get this working. So we've seen that works there. Let's see for spear here if it says spear. And now it's going to pick up the spear, and we have spear phase. Beautiful. So it does work, and it is dynamic depending on the phase. Now, we can get even more fancy here. Okay, so let's say I want to assign a color to each phase, or the text to print on a color. Now, I actually don't remember quite exactly how I did this the last time I did it, so we're gonna find out together. And for that, instead of doing on Weakauras and then having like multiple mistakes and taking so much time to do it, we're gonna use a very strong, very good add-on called Lua, where I just type /Lua and we get this code here. So let's say I want to print, and we're just gonna do random text. And yeah, I mean, let's just print this random text. Now I want this to be in red, so we're gonna get our codes here, our color codes, and we want to see red. And I can see red is FF0000. So we're gonna remember that. And the way we're gonna do this is, if I remember correctly, you have like a vertical thing like this, bar, and then CFF, and then the color code, which is FF. Again, I need to make sure it's capitalized. And then at the end, I do something like this, I believe, and R. So if this is correct, if I remember correctly, it's gonna print red. Yeah, beautiful. So all I need to do is change these colors. If I remember correctly, this should be green, right? And then again, this should be blue. Yes. Okay, so I can actually change the colors and impact the colors how I want them. So we're gonna use this that we just learned here into our code. So our stuff phase, which is blue, we're gonna do a very specific tone of blue. We're gonna make it like cyan. 00FFFF. So 00FFFF, and then we return with that. And then here on the spear, so that this blue, I just associate that blue with the stuff and the velocity. But let's say I associate this blue or the spear with red color because of the fire. So, or actually, I don't want necessarily fire. I kind of want it more orange side. So this color is sounds pretty good to me. So I'm actually going to use that one, like that. And that's the color. Make sure these are capital. This E needs to be capital, and R. And this should show me the colors. So now, when I have that print, it should show me those colors. Another thing I could do, or you know what, I was gonna get into something very complex, but we definitely don't have time for that, but never mind, let's keep it like this. All I'm gonna do now for a second, I'm gonna skip some progress, but I'm just gonna make these, but basically for each phase. Alright, and that should be it. I mean, I haven't tested this, I don't know if it's gonna work. It should work, I think I've done everything correctly, but just in case it doesn't, then maybe we get a learning chance here to see what the mistake was. But I'm gonna fast forward the shit out of these. Obviously these messages, I don't know if they're gonna work because I didn't pull the boss yet, but I wanna fast forward the shit out of these, and let's see all of them work in action. And there we have it. As you can see, all the phases work beautiful, and this was how you make it with colors. Very fancy, very beautiful. There's 0 conditions in it, and the actions is just this onInit variable that you use to check. And then all you need to make sure is the color codes are correct, the message is correct. Make sure you leave no space between the color code and the message, otherwise there will be a space in it. Yeah, I mean, this is it was way longer than I thought it would be, but I hope that by going slowly that I could make it as clear as possible, because ultimately that's my goal. This is a guide after all, and I just want everyone to understand what you can do here. This check is this is just very nice tool to have, and the quicker you learn this, and I know I was a bit resilient to learn about this, but the quicker I learned about this, the stronger Weakauras and the better Weakauras I could do, because this is just so powerful. So that being said, I hope that this video helped you understand. I wish we could make more Weakauras, but I think this is about gonna wrap our Weakaura guide sequence of videos between the very basics to some more advanced and complex with custom code. Now, I will say this though, this is not the end of Weakauras on my channel, because with the end of this video, I'm gonna start tackling Weakauras that my guildies initially gave me. Some of them are pretty hard to do because the client just has bugs built in it that prevent you from doing Weakauras about certain spells or certain things. And I'm gonna call those series just the Weakaura Challenge series. So feel free to DM me on Discord or put comments on our videos saying if you have a suggestion for a Weakaura. I'll then contact you to get some more information about what you want it done, and if it sounds like a cool challenge, maybe I make a video out of it. But that being said, I know the next video is gonna be fucking cool because some of those challenges are really fun to do. But I just wanna take a moment and appreciate everyone who was here for this sequence of videos, and I really hope that this was somewhat helpful. At the end of the day, what I'm trying to accomplish here is help people not be as scared as getting into Weakauras, and hopefully make their own Weakauras, and hopefully make some really cool stuff. Again, I hope this helped you, and I'm just gonna sign off. I'm always terrible signing off, but yeah, take care and goodbye.